Marcel Duchamp. Certainly the ultimate icon of the fervent mode of art. I don't know if ultimate icon exactly, but major one. Yeah, so I mean Duchamp, so I talked about Kippenberger in my last video, and Kippenberger is not so well known in the wider world, and of course Duchamp is, but is definitely like the least, digested, I think, of the great artists of the 20th century or of time or whatever, it took forever for the world to really catch up to what he was doing, and he's still like, he's kind of just synonymous with the question, is this even art? And he was kind of virulent in, having no aesthetic, and I guess in particular, really rendering, making manifest, brushing up against the immediacy of the production process, as well as the immediacy of the experience of the viewer, and his, so that's just, there's also just this ethos of just this like kind of virulent like anti-humanism, his works are so machinic. He has one, he had some paintings originally. He kind of worked in the Cubist style. There's the really famous one, the Descending a Staircase, which is a very sort of ironic title, in that the nude in question is like just a kind of completely sexless, basically, and similar to Brides Stripped Bare by their Bachelors, the Large Glass, which fell over as they were transporting it, and he kept the cracks, and so okay, so those are two big works of his. Then there's of course Fountain, which is a urinal that was signed. There are various other ready-mades, the bicycle wheel, that shovel, broken arm piece, in advance of a broken arm, and of course the Étant Donné, which I think he made that piece after, I think he came out of retirement from Blank Chest to make it, or maybe that was the last thing he made before then. I kind of forget. I'm not really brushing up in advance of this, but that piece, you sort of have to look through these little holes, these view holes in the wall, and it's this very sort of lurid image, and you become acutely aware of your presence as this kind of like possibly sort of aroused like being, in the space. There's this humiliation, I think, in that piece that is present as an affect in all of his work, this sense of humiliation, and that's not something that your average critic would say. I think people like to think of his work as lacking affect altogether, but they're actually, it's a little bit like atonal music, like the music of Schoenberg, that's supposed to sort of be like beyond tonality and beyond human emotion, but it's actually, in seeming to be that way, it's actually just like really dreary, and like music that's just clearly made by someone who's kind of traumatized and sort of emotionally dissociated. So I think Duchamp has some of that in his work, but but just going back to maybe those early works where he had been cubist, and then he started making ready-mades. Before then, avant-garde, proto-avant-garde work was, you had impressionism, cubism, surrealism, fauvism, all these isms that were rejecting the representationalist regime of high Renaissance influenced art, and that seemed really disturbing and radical at the time. There's this continuity with Stravinsky's music, which is really jagged, like Cubism, and there's this, what all of those movements share. Surrealism too, with its kind of focus on dreams, is that they are not trying to render ontic reality, phenomenal reality. They're still rendering something, but it's like the scientific image of reality rather than the manifest image. It's like aspects of perception that you would ordinarily tune out. Like maybe an image being composed of dots or forms, but in being that, it's still representational art, which is why I think that modernism is actually in continuity with the High Renaissance, whereas Duchamp is, he's like acting as a fly in the ointment, or a wrench in the gears, or whatever. He's really kind of hijacking the desire circuit of the art world or society, in a similar way to what Kippenberger does. Kippenberger has in some ways, a more radical way of doing it, because the immediacy that he focuses on it's really more this kind of human immediacy that even Duchamp really never thought to display. But the real seismic shift is nevertheless Duchamp. Going from representation, even abstract or kind of negative representation, to like interfering with the canon or interfering with the institution or the experience, is different because the effect is more like an enzyme. It more just kind of throttles or stimulates you in a non-worlded way. The case could be made that you're still representing something in a way, because you're still kind of putting curtains around, some kind of social bond or power structure, or just creation process, because that's, I think, I read that being an important part of his work, where you sort of, it has this kind of Cagean quality. It's quality that Cage would focus on a lot too, of just kind of being aware that things are being created, like all the time, and that's actually really kind of fascinating, and uncanny. Things that have no supposed aesthetic value at all. Production, the world is an ongoing creation. Let me see if there's anything else to really say. Um, let's see, étant large glass, ready-mades. Yeah. So anyway, those are just some thoughts about Duchamp in the context of just giving views about the fervent cardinal of the contemporary horizon of art, which is one of four cardinals. I may talk about fervor maybe one or two more times, and then we'll move on to the fourth and final cardinal, which is majesty.